here in Nigeria, the returnees were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The repatriation was a combined operation done by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCAM, Ministry of Health, Nigeria Immigration Service, NAPTIP, Refugee Commission, and NIMC. This news, however, comes hours after an announcement by the federal government that visa restrictions imposed on Nigerians from the UAE had been lifted with immediate effect. A statement by the Zonal Director of National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, North Central, Bashir Garga, says the returnees were profiled and documented by the relevant agencies and sensitized to behave with decorum and responsibility on their return to Nigeria. Now, our discussion focuses on the irregularities associated and the conditions and requirements reached to acquire a UAE visa. Welcome to another episode of Nigeria Today. I am Ikaria Clinton. Thanks for joining us. Joining us for the discussion is Ambassador Dr. Korede Martins, a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Now, Dr. Korede, Nigeria and of course the UAE have a cordial bilateral relationship, but more to that. This is not the first time we're having Nigerians have been repatriated from other regions. Now, how do you react to this?
Well, no country can stand alone. That is why the diplomacy in itself, came to bear. Nigeria as a nation needs to have relationship with other countries of the world, so that development in itself, in every subsector, can be harnessed. However, Nigerians as citizens of the world reserve the right to travel to any country they desire to. Freedom of movement enshrined in the United Nations protocol gives right to Nigerians to travel, and that's exactly what people have done. But when you travel abroad, it's imperative you know that all the necessary papers, documents, vis-a-vis visas, the documentation that you have to do must be properly done. Where you have gotten these visas, done properly, and you arrive in such countries, are you overstaying? Are you staying within the limits permitted, allowed, by the duration of the visa permit you're given? These are areas that one has to really look at. It's incumbent on, the host government to look at these regularities and possibly irregularities and bring to bear what is called adjudication. That is the law. If you do the right thing, you have nothing to, be afraid of. But whereas if there are extrajudicial treatments of Nigerians, some cases that we're having, a case in point in South Africa, we will have to look through that. But for a country like UAE, United Arab Emirates, to have deported Nigerians, they certainly have reasons to have done that. And for me, it's justiciable.
Now, just like you said, for you to travel, you have to have the correct papers, do the right thing. A lot of Nigerians are kind of in a hurry to travel, even without doing the right thing. Of course, we have the right to travel, like you rightly said in your opening remark. But again, that brings me to the question, must you travel outside the country to succeed?
Well, it's a matter of choice. We stay in the country, we can't succeed. We decide to travel abroad, we can succeed as well. So it's a matter of choice. As Nigerians, patriotism must be encouraged. That whatever it is we have as challenges in the country, it's imperative for us to stay and salvage it together. So that we look at how we can look at the various opportunities available in the country, any country, Nigeria, as youths, even as people in the middle-aged. I encourage people to not travel abroad because they're looking for the proverbial, golden fleas, as the case may be. There are opportunities in Nigeria, despite our challenges, which we all know, we are all aware of. When you stay in country, make your research, be frugal, have integrity as your watchword.
And of course, the challenges are not peculiar to Nigerians.
They're not. It's international. It's worldwide. Other countries have their own challenges as well. So why bother to travel abroad when you can actually stay in country and succeed? Most of us have not been abroad for too long. Probably went to visit, a little bit of education, and came back to the country. We're here, salvaging it, and it's getting better, and it shall get better.
Now that Nigeria has received the returnees, in your opinion, how can government, support them here, perhaps through, maybe skills acquisition? What, of course, would be your opinion on that?
Well, it is the duties and responsibilities of government to make life easier for Nigerians, be they returnees that are deported or Nigerians that are in country. Because before I go actually into that, we have to look at the reason why a lot of Nigerians, especially youths, decide to travel abroad, and they have this popular parlance, they call it japa, as the case may be. If things were to be done normally in the areas of our economy, if the unity, the peace, and the progress are justiciable, if it were free, fair, then definitely some people will not, feel left behind, as the case may be. And majority of Nigerian youths are naturally intelligent. Nigerian youth, have the zeal to be able to create and bring things out. So when opportunities are not there, they're not seeing those opportunities, encouragements are not there. So chances are that more often than not, they intend to travel out. However, it has happened. They've been to the UAE. These ones have been deported. They are back in country. It now is incumbent on government of the Federation of Nigeria to take care of these people. Ensure that they are interviewed. Ensure that you look at the things they need to be able to survive as a people, because they're now coming back into the country. Psychologically, there's a challenge there, and then they need to survive as a people. So skills acquisition is imperative in the area of IT, information technology, imperative for people. Don't just ask Nigerians that are very intelligent to go into carpentry, bricklaying, and all that. But let's look into ICT so that Nigerians can truly become global citizens, because the entire world is like a global village. That's an area where, you are sure that there will be added value continuously in the lives of these returnees to Nigeria.
Yes, you talked about opportunities. I will tell you that there are quite a lot of opportunities here in Nigeria. Like, of course, I had one of my guests from the National Productivity Center, and a lot is being done to, empower the youth. But then, if you want to look at it from another angle, some persons have made up their mind. They have this, will I say, this mentality or perception that I have to go outside the country to make it, even though if they still go outside the country, they still have to hustle, or let me use the word hustle. They have to put in their best. No, how do we begin to, will I say, change their mindset that even in the country where you are, you can make something out of yourself where you are?
I like to give a personal example. I stayed in country. What I do is I teach entrepreneurship management, how SMEs can be, given, how the capacity of SMEs can be built. We deliver training to people, and when they do this, they manage their businesses effectively and becomes profitable despite our challenges. Those who seek whatever support, we link them. Opportunities abound in Nigeria. I was at one of our agencies in this country in charge of raw materials research. And you find a lot of research results lying fallow on desks in this institution of learning. And we have quite a number of financial institutions that ought to be harnessed to come in to support making sure, transforming those research results into businesses for Nigeria's youth to take charge of. But are we getting this, or we're just playing lip service to all this? These are areas that government need to actually look at and nip in the bud actually. It's not enough to just release allocations to agencies, but they must be seen to be doing what they ought to.
Now, each time we hear repatriation, now, do you put it in a good perspective, or will I say, or otherwise, why evacuate if you're staying legally in another man's land?
If you're staying legally in another man's land, you should not be repatriated. You ought not under the law of the land. However, there are some instances where people go above the law, where you have witch hunting, where you dwell on unproductive, unsubstantiated rumors about the country. They say quite a bit about our country, Nigeria, abroad. Even some Nigerians say negative words concerning this country, which is not in any way true. Nigeria is a country that has everything that any human being need to succeed. Be it human, natural resources. We have it in this country. We have them in this country. So whatever it is that the immigration officers in the other countries are doing concerning this, they must ensure that they work within the ambits of the law, because they cannot just be a law unto themselves. If all these people that were returned are interviewed and their cases in point are handled, one after the other, if we see cases of extrajudicious handling there, then we have every right to petition the country, the United Arab Emirates, to the International Court of Law in The Hague. It's our duty as a Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs to do. Officers are there to work. That's why they're being paid. Part of why they're being paid.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll take a short break now and listen to some informed views on the topic of discourse as put together by Steve Lonai Wokolo. Don't go.
Okay, deportation will depend on what makes them to deport them. If they didn't commit any crime and their papers are genuine and complete, I don't think it's right for the country to deport them.
Now they are back. The government have a lot to do. Nigeria have resources. Nigeria have good arable land. If our leaders can invest in Nigeria, do the necessary, things will be okay.
The only thing maybe they can do for them is to bring them together and maybe empower them or give them skills, train them. If they don't have any meaningful means of livelihood,
let them create, job for those people that have come back. Let them create conducive environment. I mean, the conducive environment is let them tackle security.
And we are being joined virtually by Professor Sheriff Gali Ibrahim. He's the head of the Department of Political Science and International Affairs, University of Abuja. Prof, you're glad to have you in Nigeria today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Prof, we're talking about the repatriation of some Nigerians, from the UAE. We want to get your reaction on this development. What do you think of the situation?
About a causational factor. And I believe the causational factor did not emanate from the government and people of the UAE. We have domestic issues. And that is why those causational factors of poverty, hunger, valueless currency, insecurity, lack of dividend of democracy as people voted for leaders to govern.
Back to the studio, Dr. Korede, you had a reaction of some persons there. Based on your analysis, once one migrates to achieve success, because when they return, it seems they go through stigmatization and hardship. How true is this?
It is very true because once you return, you're deported to the country. It's not a good thing at all. The person planned initially to travel abroad, stay abroad for the period intended. Then it happens along the line that you're deported. But as I said earlier, what happened? How did it come about? Are your documents correct? Are you overstaying your visa as allowed, as permitted? You know, so those are things we need to look at. And then do we have, extra sentiments from that country? You know, those are the investigations that need to be carried out by foreign affairs officials to determine the veracity otherwise of the situation. Definitely stigmatization would be the order of the day in the minds of those that are deported, because that's not exactly what they planned for initially. It now beholds on government to actually cushion the effect of this. It beholds on the family members to rally around them and psychologically give them that soft landing, that support by encouragement. Faith-based organizations also have the ecclesiastical responsibility, to speak to them and say, not to worry, all is well. The Almighty Creator is the one that created Nigeria and also created UAE, wherever you want to go to, and you are back to your country. So the same success you want abroad, you can have in Nigeria. So they need words of encouragement, and they need practical steps to be taken by government to ensure that they are well settled, productively in country.
Now, talking about entering another man's country, without proper documentation, I wanted to throw more light on how, the implication and how it portrays us as a people and as a country, because quite a lot of people, they really don't, they don't even know the implication. And even for some of them, they don't care, So I wanted to...
It's quite unfortunate that Nigerians embark on such unpermitted, unofficial journeys from what we see. The NAPTIP, as an agency of government, has shown on various media houses and even online the various pictures. We see people taken, from Nigeria across Ilela border, Sokoto to Niger Republic, to across the Sahara Desert to Algeria, to probably Fez in Morocco, and across the Mediterranean to Europe. These are practical risks that one has brought to one's life, and it is not to be encouraged. It is not encouraged because you don't have a right to put your life at risk.
Okay, I'll have to stop you here, Dr. Korede, so that we can listen to Professor Sheriff. Now, Prof, you were actually saying something, but in addition to that, can you sensitize the Nigerian, particularly the youth, on the difference between regular and irregular migrations? Also, we have to differentiate the returnees. The returnees are not all smuggled, but traveled legally. Not all of them really are illegal, but just enlighten us on the difference of, the regular and the irregular migration.
Documented and undocumented migration, legal and illegal migration. I give you this: the highest illiterate on the land should be able to distinguish between the two. There are no complicated nuances, in this particular differentiation. So, but what is there is that people understand that it is actually cumbersome for them to actually acquire the amount of wealth and money that will enable them buy a flight ticket or even to secure a visa to travel outside the country. So the only hope they have is to actually go through the irregular way, through the undocumented paths, through the illegal way of migrating into other people's land, which is inimical to the survival of humanity as well as the virtues of man as a member of the society. Illegally moving, navigating from your own to another man's land without proper documentation. Hello?
Go on. We can hear you, sir.
Request sanctions and because if arrested, it will amount to imprisonment. And that is why you go to China, you go to Saudi Arabia, all those attractive countries in the world, you discover that you have Nigerians who live there illegally without proper documentation. So the sensitization here, there is no amount of sensitization you give to Nigerians if you don't actually empower them. That causational factors which we have actually argued upon, that there has to be a kind of improvement in the socio-economic life of the people in order to disincentivize them from moving out of their country. If this is not happen, people will always find the easier way for them to actually travel out seeking for greener pasture. And that is why the only panacea, as I argued, is to make sure that our government becomes responsive and responsible in making sure that they strengthen our institutions, they provide jobs, they fight poverty, they also formulate fruitful economic policies, make sure that food is available, work opportunities actually available. But there is one notable factor which we cannot actually discard into the pedal bin. And what is that factor? That factor is what a respondent earlier argued on, that we need to actually strengthen our security architecture. By strengthening our security architecture, we're going to invite more foreign direct investment into Nigeria. And if we have foreign direct investment inflow into Nigeria, we're going to have more job opportunities that will actually create avenues for our youth to employ.
Thank you very much, Prof. And lastly, before we go, now, how do we reintegrate these persons, the returnees? How do we reintegrate them into the society and make them, give them that, will I say, that opportunity, or will I say opportunity, or give them that sense of belonging so that they don't go back to what they did before they were repatriated back to the country?
It is not rocket science to reintegrate Nigerians who have been deported, challenged psychologically. And it's not just that. When I align myself with the thoughts of the Prof, Nigeria as a country requires all-round economic development from the grassroots. We can do a lot of work in the 774 local governments. We can bring in SMEs. We can bring in, mini factories to bear. All the local governments in Nigeria. Nigerian youths are very industrious, highly intelligent, and they are willing, capable, ready to handle all this. Once you engage Nigeria's youths, you are sure that criminality and all these risks to life will reduce. We must commend the current administration for a lot of efforts that are ongoing vis-a-vis empowering Nigeria's youth. We have been making efforts to develop our economy and giving Nigeria as a nation a good face at the international level, with a lot of bilateral meetings, being attended by Mr. President and the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much.
So Nigeria shall be the better for it.
Of course, we are really praying, of course, with what the present administration is doing. We know that in the shortest possible time, we will not have situations like this.
Certainly, no question.
And with that, we draw the curtain for today's episode of Nigeria Today. Very big thank you to our guest, Ambassador Dr. Korede Martins, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And we had via Zoom Professor Sharif Gali Ibrahim, the Head of Department of Political Science and International Affairs, University of Abuja. Thank you for your time and your contribution. And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.